Hi, this is Dan Jones, and I'm back with Dustin Dart, who is a top-of-the-line sales trainer and sales consultant. And we're going to talk about what's wrong with selling and salespeople this day and age. And we're also going to talk about an open letter to the sales industry that Dustin wrote that's causing some waves in the sales industry. Dustin, it's so nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, Dan, it is so nice to be back. Thanks for having me on again, and I look forward to talking to you.
Well, as we mentioned at the beginning of this segment, it seems like there's a big disconnect with salespeople these days. When most people think of a salesman, they get a creepy image of a slick-talking guy that wants to pressure them out of their money. Dustin, what do you think is wrong with salespeople and the sales industry at large these days?
Dan, I am a proud salesperson. And it's really funny. When I go to family parties or some type of social function and people ask me what I do, I proudly say, from the bottom of my heart that I am a salesperson. And I'm proud of it. It's like I'm saying that I'm a doctor or, I'm a lawyer or something in my mind. And what strikes me funny is the look on the faces of the other people when I tell them that I'm a salesperson. Immediately, their countenance changes and their attitude towards me changes a little bit. I think they get a little bit, fearful. They kind of step back a little bit and think, oh boy, what's this guy going to try to sell me now? And really, I think that it's unfortunate that salespeople have such a bad reputation in the marketplace and have such a bad reputation in the professional game, you know? And at the same time, I know the reasons why that salespeople deserve that reputation, but really it's a shame because at the end of the day, the sales profession is truly a proud profession. As Red Motley stated so many, many years ago, that nothing happens in this economy, nothing good happens for any business out there until somebody sells something. Somebody has to sell something in order for that business to progress. If you want profits for your business, somebody has to sell something. And so, literally, salespeople are the foundational piece for the success of a company, for the success of the economies of the nations at large. If people didn't sell things, then our economy would be in just a horrible state. And so, you can look at just the stark difference of the respect that a salesperson has and the need that we have for salespeople and wonder why that they're so disrespected. And Dan, this type of disrespect has really increased over the last few years, over the last 10 years or so. And that's because, the way that we buy as a society or as people has dramatically changed over the last 20 to, the last 10 years especially. The way we buy has changed so much. Now, here's the problem is that we as salespeople have been trained to sell the same way that we've been trained to sell for the last 30, the last 40 years. But the way we buy has been so different, and the way we sell hasn't changed. And so really, this tension has built up, and there's really been a climax of tension here that has really come to a head. And the disrespect, the patience that people have for a salesperson has just declined dramatically, and it's because salespeople are not selling the way that they should be selling. They're stuck 20, 30, or maybe 40 years ago using manipulative tactics, having a motive of just trying to get the sale to line their own pocketbooks, not understanding the reasons that a customer buys, not understanding the motives the customer buys. And really, at the end of the day, Dan, the salespeople have been trained for so long and continue to be trained in completely the wrong way. All right? More specifically, the wrong way to sell is to think about a sale or to think about the transaction as a close. Okay? When you close something, you are literally shutting the door on something. When you close on a transaction, you have the mindset of literally you're closing the door on that relationship, that it's the end of something. But in all actuality, when you make a sell, you're opening. You are opening the possibilities of your clients and prospects to see and understand the benefits of what you sell, the benefits and value of the product and service you have. Literally, Dan, it's the exact opposite. What people should be doing now, instead of closing down on people, is opening. They should be opening. Because here's the reason. When you first make contact with a prospect, when you first make the first sales call, are the people open to you? Are they open to a conversation? A lot of times they're not, because they're already closed. When you first start that selling transaction or that selling moment, people are already closed, okay? They're closed off. Trust me, you have to use so much skill and so much talent from your studying to be able to open these people up to at least even hearing you. All right, so the completely wrong way to think about sales is closing, because, my friend, people are already closed. What you must do is use skill and use your pure motives to open your client up to even having a conversation, and then continue opening them up until they finally decide to make a purchase from you. And that's the reason that people are disrespected, because people are not being sold in the same way they buy. They like to be opened up. They like to have a motive that's pure rather than being closed down. Right? It's completely the opposite. Now, let me just ask you a quick question to all the people that are out there listening. This is a completely new philosophy for a lot of people to even hear, and it just flies in the face of what's been taught for the last 40 or 50 years about selling, and so it can be a hard concept to grasp. A lot of people enjoy the macho aspect of a hardcore closer, or somebody that is a closer that can close a deal. But to all those people out there, and to everybody, I have a question. When you're in a buying transaction where you're going to buy a big ticket item that costs a lot of money, that's going to take a lot of financial investment, how do you feel when the salesperson closes you? When the salesperson is disrespectful, when the salesperson is manipulative, when the salesperson doesn't help you gain a clear vision of what the benefits are, but still pushes you to make the transaction anyways? How do you feel? There isn't a person on the earth that enjoys that type of transaction. And so the question is, and the question remains, why do we insist on selling in a way that people hate, that people do not buy in? That is the major problem with salespeople. And that's why professionals at large do not like salespeople, and why salespeople are disrespected so very much.
Man, that just makes total sense. I've never really heard it broken down that way before. That's just great stuff. Now, you mentioned how closing is the wrong mindset for salespeople to have. And that will lead us to talk about this open letter that you've written to all the sales trainers, business owners, and everybody in the sales profession. Now, Dustin, this letter has caused quite the ruckus out there, both good and bad. Tell us about the letter, what's in it, and what the response has been.
Sure thing, Dan. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a proud salesperson. I love sales, and I love everything that it represents, from success philosophy, from helping businesses and business owners reach their dreams, and it's the backbone of a capitalistic free market system. I just absolutely love it. And over the last few years, it's just been resting heavy on my heart about the way that we've gone wayward in the sales industry and the disrespect that we've already spoken about in this interview. And I did a lot of pondering about the reasons why, and what I feel is the wrong way that the whole sales industry and salespeople and sales trainers have gone wrong. And I came to this conclusion, is that literally we are a 180-degree um, difference from where we should be. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. And so I wrote this open letter called The Death of Closing. And I sent it out to all the sales trainers, that many of whom I respect and many of whom I've learned so much. Um, but in this particular instance, I think that we've gone wrong. And we continue to force feed the new generation of salespeople in the thinking that they have to close. And, I wrote this letter, and basically what the letter states is it delineates the tension that buyers have nowadays with sellers, and how it cannot be a healthy thing when there's this much tension between buyers and sellers. And I mentioned that, the closing mindset is the wrong mindset to go with. I mean, the dictionary literally defines closing as impeding somebody from getting something. All right, from closing the door on somebody from getting the benefits, to stop or to obstruct, to block or to hinder, to deny access. That's how closing is defined by the dictionary. And so, I ask this question to any business owner or any salesperson: do you want to deny access to your customers and your potential clients? Or do you want to stop and obstruct them from buying from what you're selling? And the answer is obviously no. You know? Do you want to close the door on a client right when they want to buy? It just doesn't really make sense to close anymore. It's just the wrong mindset. And so my disagreement really with closing, though, nowadays, it goes a lot more deeper than just being the wrong mindset. It goes a lot deeper than that. Really, what's happened in the sales industry for many sales is the salespeople are being trained in manipulative tactics to close the deal, quote unquote, to get the sell at all costs. And what this does, Dan, is it creates a massive amount of disrespect for the client. Who wants to disrespect their client? Who wants to disrespect the very people who are going to pay for the services that you're selling, and that's responsible for all of the profits of a company? Who in their right mind wants to disrespect them? But yet, this is what's happened with salespeople. They are taking just a no holds barred philosophy with sales, and are trying to win at all costs. And it just makes salespeople ugly, aggressive, and just almost, I don't know what the exact words are, but it's just not right. And so that's the reasons really why I wrote the letter, because as I mentioned before, sales by and large, salespeople have great motives and they want to do the right things. All right, but through this misguided training that we've been receiving over the last 40 or 50 years, we've been ingrained to thinking we have to close no matter what, just like the movies say, the ABC, you always be closing. You have to close the sale no matter what, just pushing the client around like they're a little rag doll. And through that, people just hate to talk to salespeople, and it's not healthy for business to be handled that way. And so the solution, as I stated earlier, is literally, it's what's called the law of polarity. A lot of times, Dan, when there's a problem with something, you got to look at its opposite. And that's what the law of polarity says. If you don't like high, then try being low. If you don't like white, try black. And if one door closes, then another door opens. And when I thought of this, and when I realized this, that literally the exact opposite is the way that salespeople should be thinking about it, it was a revelation to me, Dan. It was literally one of those moments that just struck such a nerve, but in a good way. It just made so much sense that, as I stated before, when you first start a selling transaction, the customer's already closed. And so what a salesperson must do is use skill and be a great salesperson and really care deep down inside about the benefits of the product they're selling and their client, and begin to open them up. All right? And so literally they start from being open, and they excuse me, they start from being closed and you must open them up. And it just made such a difference in the way that I started to sell. I mean, literally feel the difference. When you're selling, when you're a professional salesperson, you begin to open up the opportunities of value that you have to your clients. All right, see how that feels rather than trying to close the client. You know, what you're doing is you're opening up long-term relationships with those that you serve. All right? You're opening the benefits to them. You're opening yourself to be a resource. You're literally taking the prospect from being a closed person to what you're offering, to being open, to parting with their hard-earned money, to purchasing your product. You know, just opening versus closing feels so much better. And I've got to tell you, Dan, the response to the letter has been overwhelmingly positive. Business owners and salespeople, they really are gaining the true perspective of what a professional salesperson is. And they start to understand that when you serve a client, when you have a concern for your client and you open them up to truly seeing the value they're going to get from what you're selling, and you help create that vision through your skill as a salesperson, man, it changes the dynamic of sales. It changes your motive. It literally, Dan, this is really interesting. It literally eliminates sales fear because the purpose of the salesperson changes completely. No longer are they afraid because they're being manipulative and they're only thinking about the check they're going to get, but now they're serving their clients. And their clients just don't understand the benefits they have, and so they've got to use skill. Yes, technique is important. Technique is absolutely needed. But when you bring it with the right motive to helping them open up to what you're selling, it just literally changes everything about the selling process. And so, again, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Now, I've got to say, Dan, that there have been a few that have vehemently disagreed with me. All right? Several salespeople and several sales trainers out there that have been teaching closing as part of the backbone of their programs have really disagreed with me. Some of them have taken offense to it. And that's not the purpose of what I've wrote the letter for. I'm not disparaging anybody out there. I have great respect for most of the sales trainers out there. I just feel that closing is misguided. I feel it's the wrong way to do it, and I've just got to stand up and say it's the wrong way to go about it. And some of these sales trainers have criticized this letter, saying that it's been, that I am promoting a philosophy of basically becoming sissies, of of kind of, I don't know what the right word here, of just, just making the sales profession an airy-fairy profession where everything is rainbows and butterflies. And if we just smile and have a kumbaya festival, everybody will get along and everything is going to be okay. And that's not the purpose of the letter. That was not the purpose of the letter. That's not the purpose of opening versus closing. Opening, number one, again, it changes the motive. Buyers like it so much better, but here's the root of the matter, Dan, is that by opening and using technique and skill to open turns salespeople into much better salespeople. They become much more effective. They become much more efficient. And the funny thing is that they literally start to open more deals. All right, they increase their sales because their motives have changed. The way they see the sales transaction has completely changed. And it's been effective and it's very, very powerful. And they're increasing sales because of it. And for that reason, I am a strong defender of becoming an opener rather than a closer. And this report has just began to start to change the sales industry at large from making that huge mindset shift that's been so ingrained in our psyche as salespeople for so long. And I've literally got to say, I'm proud to be a part of this new sales movement.
That is amazing, Dustin. I can't believe that we haven't heard this type of viewpoint in sales before. I mean, really, the way you've explained how opening is the new mindset just completely makes sense. And when I think of selling that way, going from closing to opening, I just feel so much more relaxed and open about selling.
Dan, you've really nailed it right there. As salespeople make this mindset shift, the whole attitude about sales changes. They feel so much more relaxed, and their motives, the purpose why they're selling, is so much more, just pure, that it makes selling so much easier. One of the major roadblocks for sales and sales success that salespeople have is fear. That they are afraid to talk to the clients the way that they should be spoken to. And what opening does is it opens the door to have a real conversation with the client, to have a real, just adult conversation, a connecting conversation, where the salesperson's literally leading the conversation and everything they're doing out of love and out of respect for the client. And honestly, when you say love and respect for the client, those are words that are rarely used in sales training over the last however many years. Rarely used. But when you lead with love and respect for your clients, it changes everything. From the salesperson's point of view, they're no longer afraid to make a cold call. They're no longer afraid to have a conversation because they truly want to help the client understand what the benefits and value are. And so if you're that dedicated and loyal to helping your clients out, you're no longer going to be afraid. But here's the other part of the dramatic difference here, Dan, is that clients and prospects respond to that realness, respond to that sincerity like you can't believe, because they've probably never been treated by a salesperson like these new sales reps that are leading with opening, how they're treating them now. And so their response to a salesperson that has this new mindset is just absolutely astounding. And as I mentioned before, the salespeople begin to dramatically increase sales because of this new philosophy of leading with love and respect and having true adult conversations with the clients. And the clients appreciate it, and it's just truly refreshing.
Exactly right. That's on point. Dustin, I've got to say that what you're doing and what you're preaching is so refreshing and so needed out there in the sales world. Truly, you are a leader in the sales field, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Unfortunately, we're out of time here, and we've got to go. But before we do, tell the audience how they can learn more and how they can get a hold of you for sales training and any sales help they need.
Then the best way to contact me is through my website. Just go to dustindart.com, and you're going to see a ton of resources on sales success, from the death of closing. You'll find this letter on the website. You can take a look at it. You can download it and read it and see what it says, and share it with your entire sales team. Share it with everybody that you know that are in sales, because it's going to make a huge difference for them. And there's just a lot of other stuff on the website, so go to dustindart.com, and you'll learn a lot more about sales success. And if there's anything that we can do to help you increase your sales, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help.
All right, there you have it. If you need any help at all with your sales team or sales strategy, you know where to go. Dustin is one of the best sales trainers out there, so go to his website and contact him for any sales help you need. And with that, we'll be right back.